You guys are live.
Okay, welcome everybody. It is calling the virtual meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Elections on August 10th, 2021. It is now 10:01 a.m. And if we could have roll call, Eileen Leahy, Chair.
Brianna Cuffey, member, present.
You're muted, Regina.
Still early. Regina Watkins Eldridge, City Clerk.
Susan Eckert, Elections Administration Assistant.
Ashley Leonard, Assistant City Attorney.
Okay. We have a number of items on the agenda, but we also have some other additions, if I could get a motion.
Does it have to be all individual?
No.
Okay.
No, we just need the one for public testimony and then one to add the certificate of candidacy.
Okay. Yeah. Motion to add public testimony to the agenda.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. And motion to add was the last submittals of certificates of candidacy to the agenda.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Well, we'll be adding the agenda item for public testimony will come before the closed session. And then the review of the certificate of candidacy will come when we're also discussing updates to the list of candidacy and finalizing the ballot. And that will be after the closed session. All right, in regards to public testimony, we received a certified letter from Janet Katz of 143 Spa Road, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403, asking for information. There was an online web form submitted from Vera Herath, Herath. She was contacting us as in her position as a member of the League of Women Voters. Her address is 179 Doncaster Road, Arnold, Maryland, 21012. She was inquiring with a question and we're following up on that. There are 4 people who have signed up to do live testimony today. We are going to put them up in the order in which their requests were received. So they will be, the first one will be Mary Ann Arnett, then David Frankel, then Alderman Ross Arnett, and then Katie George. And I'll ask them when they have 3 minutes to speak. Regina, could you time them for me? And so you have 3 minutes to speak, and then Regina will give you a heads up for when your 3 minutes is up. And I ask you to respect the 3-minute limit. And when you do speak, if you would also state your name and your address. Okay. So Ryan, if you could, as I call them, if you could bring them up as a panelist so that they can give their testimony. So the first one is Mary Ann Arnett.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. And I thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to testify in rebuttal of David Frankel's request for the decertification of my candidacy for Ward 7 representative on the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee. The section of the code cited by Mr. Frankel is not an eligibility criterion. Campaign managers are not barred from filing their candidacy. Instead, the section involves serving simultaneously going forward once a manager becomes a candidate. The facts presented by Mr. Frankel involve my campaign management activities before becoming a candidate, not since. Lack of campaign management is not a prerequisite to filing a candidacy. Nowhere is there such a limitation found in Chapter 4.20. In fact, I resigned as campaign manager for my brother Ross Arnett. There were some minor things that wound down as the campaign transitioned, and there was a slight lag in Ross amending his paperwork. but I resigned and no longer serve as his campaign manager. In the event a candidate was to serve or continue serving as a campaign manager, the code does not seem to provide decertification of candidacy as a sanction in this circumstance. Code section 4.44.150 parentheses B does provide that a candidate is ineligible for election to any public office or employment, or if found or decided to have engaged in any prohibited conduct. However, that's not the circumstance here. I am not a candidate for public office. Instead, I'm a candidate for party office. The distinction between candidates and elections for public office versus party office is made through the election code. See, for example, 4.20.020 parentheses A. Each person seeking nomination to any public office or election to any party office at a primary election shall file a certificate of candidacy. Here, ineligibility is a remedy directed only to candidates for public office. Secondly, ineligibility for election is only where prohibited. Yes.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if there's any.
You finish your sentence.
Thank you. Ineligibility for election is only where prohibited conduct is found.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arnett. We'll take,
Thank you, Ms. Arnett.
all right. And then the next person is Mr. Frankel. Mr. Frankel, if you could state your name and your address, and you're on mute.
Yes, good morning. My name is David Frankel, 929 King James Landing Road, Annapolis, Maryland, and I am a candidate for the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee. I am here today to ask the board why Mary Arnett and Ross Arnett should not be declared ineligible candidates and excluded from the candidate list. You know the basic background. Miss Arnett signed and her brother Alderman Ross Arnett submitted on April 13th, 2021, a written statement in his certificate of candidacy that identified her as his campaign manager. Subsequently, on July 2021, Ms. Arnett submitted her own certificate of candidacy. In it, she swore and certified under oath that she was not a campaign manager for any candidate. The election law prohibits being both a candidate and another candidate's campaign manager. Supposedly, Ms. Arnett resigned, but neither she nor Alderman Arnett reported it, and there is no documentary evidence to support it. What a tangled mess, and how difficult it is going to be to unravel. At a minimum, there are 7 important questions that deserve answers. First and foremost is, why did Alderman Arnett wait until July 30th, 2021 to amend his certification to notify the board and the public about the change in campaign manager? That is the biggest mystery here, but there are other important questions. 2, why did Ms. Arnett not give notice to the board? 3, is it okay that the Arnetts caused the board and the public to remain until July 20th under the false belief that Ms. Arnett had apparent authority to act as Alderman Arnett's campaign manager? 4, should the Arnetts receive special treatment because they are incumbents? 5, will the public believe that the Arnetts are getting special treatment? 6, should the board even have to unravel a mess like this? Last, and perhaps the most important question for the board, what is the precedent that it wants to establish for the future if it is concerned about the appearance of impropriety and election integrity?
All right, Mr. Frankel, your 3 minutes are up. So if you want to finish your sentence.
That did conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frankel. Now Alderman Ross Arnett is next. Alderman Arnett, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, we
Hello,
can hear
okay.
you.
All right.
you have- If you could state your name and your address, and then we'll start your 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ross Arnett, and I live at 529 6th Street. I first became aware of this issue the evening of 29th of July when I was informed by the city clerk that there was a problem. I went home, I checked the code, I conferred with my sister, and at that time she resigned or verbally as my campaign manager. The next day I made arrangements to meet with the city clerk to amend my application for a certificate to remove her. I signed it in front of the city clerk, and she is not my city campaign manager. I'm not asking for any special treatment, and I do subscribe to the statement that Ms. Arnett made in her opening remarks. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Arnett. Okay, next person on the list is Katie George. If you'll state your name and your address. Is she here? There she is. Okay. Ms. George, you can, if you're on, you can start. You have 3 minutes, so please identify yourself, including any political position or office that you're seeking.
Good morning, board members. My name is Katie George, and I reside at 695 Americana Drive here in Eastport. And yes, I am appearing today as a candidate for alderperson for Ward 8. And I'm concerned that whatever rules we put in place for any candidate here in Annapolis are applied equally and unambiguously to all candidates. It is particularly concerning that the board might consider anyone's verbal statement as a proxy for actual written documentation. Ms. Arnett's mere verbal statement that she had consulted with her brother and thus was no longer his campaign manager. We don't have any written documentation of that as far as I know. And frankly, anybody can say anything, and just saying it doesn't make it so. As a new member of the political environment here, I'm still confident that this board will operate in a transparent way where the rules are clear and followed consistently for all candidates and for all elected offices. Therefore, I remain optimistic that you will follow your own rules and consider Mr. Frankel's petition favorably. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. George. And I believe that concludes all of the people that had put forth either web forms or requests for live testimony. Correct, Regina? Yeah, okay. All right, at this time, let me pull something up. I'm just looking, I have something I just need to, oh, okay. All right, and so at this point, we're going to go to the next item on the agenda, which is ID 17321, the proposed closed session of the Board of Supervisors of Elections in accordance with the annotated code of Maryland, general provisions, article sections 3-305. B7. The topics discussed for this citation are a review of Title IV and proposed responses. At this time, I would entertain a motion to move pursuant to annotated code of Maryland, general provisions, article sections 3-305 B7 to go into closed session.
Motion to move into closed session.
All right, second.